What's up, guys? Hey, welcome to the next episode of Testimony Tuesday. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. I really do. This next one comes from a guy that I met out on tour. Huge heart for the Lord. But this testimony is a struggle that he had. And I just want you guys to watch it, listen to it. And if it resonates with any of you guys, man, I just ask you to share it. Again, I fully believe that these things are changing lives. And I said it a while ago, but changing lives one click at a time. So check it out and tell me what you think after we're done.
Hi, everybody. Scott Shireman from Jeffersonville, Indiana here. I've been asked to put my testimony into a video format here to share with you. And the first thing I want to tell you is if you're watching this, I hope that this encourages you on your path. And I'm certainly grateful. I want to express that I'm really, really grateful to be able to do this and grateful for the life that I have. I'm going to start back a few years ago. So my wife and I've been married for about 20 years now, Nancy. And Nancy came to Christ much younger than I did, way before we got together. And when we got together, we were unequally yoked, is what the Bible calls it. I was the unequal part of that yoking. So, I've been a musician my whole life and into music my whole life. And it plays a real big part in my story. My wife had asked me to go to church upon many occasions, and I would tell her through the years, no, I don't need to go to church. I don't do drink. I don't smoke. I don't gamble. I don't do this. I don't do that. Church is for sick people like a hospital is for sick people, and I don't need to go to the hospital. And that was kind of how I viewed things. And I didn't view that I needed any help, right? That I was okay. Things were fine. I didn't do this and this and this, so that meant I didn't need help. It doesn't make sense, I know, but for a non-believer, it made perfect sense. But anyway, my wife, bless her heart, continued to ask, and I continued to say no. And then, because she knew I was a musician and had played in bands my whole life and was playing in bands at that time, she would ask me to go to a Christian concert once in a while. And I would say things like, I don't want to go listen to a bunch of people sing about Jesus. And worse, forgive me, God, I said worse. And, but bless her heart, she wouldn't give up. She kept asking. And I'm really glad she didn't give up. And if you're out there praying for somebody, don't give up on anybody. Don't ever give up on them. But, so anyway, she kept asking, and I came up with this brilliant plan of how I was going to get her to quit asking. And I said, she's going to keep asking until I agree to go. So I'm going to agree to go. I'm going to agree to go to a concert. And then once it's done, I'm going to sit through the whole concert. And when it's done, I'm going to come out of the concert. I'm going to say, look what a good man you got. Look at what sacrifice I made. Give up a whole night just for you to go to this concert. And I went. Now, don't ask me to go anymore. I've done it, and don't ask anymore. And I had it all planned out. Everything planned out. So this was about almost 12 years ago. And it was 11 years ago. So anyway, my wife got tickets to go to Winter Jam. And I had no idea what Winter Jam was. I just told her it was a concert, and it was a local venue I was familiar with, a hall, a stadium that I was familiar with in Louisville, Kentucky. And so she gets us tickets right up front. We were in the Jam Nation. We were like in the second row. I call that the critical care section. By the way, that's where I was at. I was in need of critical care and didn't even know it. So we got me tickets in the critical care section. And we got to the concert, and so about the time we get set down, she goes, well, I'm going to go look at the merchandise. And I was like, oh, okay, go ahead. And so I'm sitting there by myself, and I'm going to make the best of it. I'm a musician. I'm a drummer. And I'm gonna like look at what kind of drums they're setting up and look at what kind of monitors they're using, and I'll look at the back line, look at what lights they're using, and I'm looking around the stage stuff. And I see this guy kind of down the aisle from me, an older guy like my age, and he's standing there, and I'm thinking in my mind, I'm thinking, I bet his wife made him come too. So I kind of waved to the guy, and he comes walking over, and I said, hey man, you go to a lot of these Christian things? And he kind of turns his head a little funny, and he says, yeah. He says, this is your first time at a winter jam? I said, yes, sir. I said, what about you? Why are you here? And he says, oh, I come often. He says, are you a Christian? I said, oh no. I'm like, oh no. And he says, well, I'm Bobby Joyner. I'm the tour pastor. I was like, oh no, man. The one guy I'm going to meet is going to be the pastor in this whole big place. And I'm thinking they're going to put a spotlight on me or try to drag me on stage or make me handle snakes or something. I don't know what I thought. Something crazy. He was as nice as could be, okay? I mean, and Bobby's a dear friend of mine today. So, Bob, if you're watching this, know that I'm so grateful you were there. But anyway, God felt that I should meet Bobby Joyner first. So anyway, we talk some, and he goes backstage and brings me this book, which I still have, and he gave me his phone number, his cell phone number, said, hey, if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to call me. He said, I'd love to know what you think about the concert. I was like, okay. And I was like, whew, dodged a bullet there. So, about that time, Nancy comes back, and how you doing? I said, oh, everything's fine. I didn't tell her anything about that. And at that time, the bands at the opening of Winter Jam during the lights up portion of the concert were bands that were kind of up and coming. They weren't like they weren't the headliners yet, okay? And one of those bands was a band called Sidewalk Prophets. And Dave, their singer, who I just think the world of and have since gotten to know and meet and tell the story to, he's a big guy. I'm a big guy. And he comes out with a microphone in one hand and a Bible in the other. And he's singing like a bird. And I'm like, man, this dude can sing. I'm like, I'm a musician. I'm like, I don't know what all this other stuff about, but that dude can sing. And it got my attention, right? And they have a song, Sidewalk Prophets has a song called These Are the Words I Would Say. And I don't know, it was like maybe their second or third song they played. And all I can describe to you what happened next in a feeling sense was like getting hit by lightning, or like I licked my fingers and stuck them in a light socket, right? I just had this incredible energy going through me. I get goosebumps every time I tell this story. I was overwhelmed, okay, with feeling. And I was a little scared, right? I'd never felt anything that powerful, something thrown on me like that. And today I know that was God reaching out to me, And, and I was listening to the words of the song, and, God's got his hand on you. I was like, okay, wow. And I was crying, be strong in the Lord, never give up hope, right? And it was really intense. That's all I can tell you. And I'm sure my wife's freaking out. She's probably looking at me thinking, oh my God, what, here I am feeling like I'm that high up off the floor. And so anyway, I went through the rest of the night. This feeling kind of just laid on me, And I didn't tell anybody what had happened, right? I didn't, like I'd mentioned earlier. So we finished the night and went home, and I started secretly listening to Christian songs, looking them up on the internet, and listening to the Christian radio station when nobody was around. And I was still playing in a bar band at that time, right, as a drummer. And we had a gig the next Saturday night at the casino. And this casino was paying me really good money, our band really good money, and I was making great money to just go play drums. And I remember I was playing the set, and I'd played the set 100 times. So when you play stuff, you can kind of go on muscle memory and just kind of think about whatever while you're playing songs. You don't have to think anymore. And I'm looking around, I'm watching all these people in the casino gambling and smoking and drinking, and I'm thinking, man, what am I doing here? I don't do any of this stuff. Why am I here? I just felt overwhelming, like I should be somewhere else. And I finished the night, finished the gig, and, those kind of gigs end at 3 o'clock in the morning. So we're loading out. I'm talking to a guitar player in the band who was a dear friend of mine. He's a great guy, but not a Christian by any stretch. And I was like, man, we ought to play places where families can come. I was thinking back to Winter Jam and how I saw all these families together and kids, and everybody was having a good time. There wasn't anything weird going on. Nobody spilling beer on anybody or anything. And I was like, so I'm trying to describe that to him without saying Christian, right? I'm saying we ought to play in places that are family friendly and stuff. And he said, and I quote, he said, what are you going to start? Are you going to become a Jesus freak and start a praise band? Now, he knew nothing about that experience at Winter Jam. I didn't mention it in any way. So I heard what he said, and I was like, maybe he's right. And I said, I think you're right. I think that's what I need to do. I said, I quit. And I quit that band right then. And they were kind of shocked. And I was shocked because I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing. I just felt this call, this pull, And I know now, today, that was God, right? Encouraging me, pulling me and saying, come on, man, I've got work for you to do. And, I had a lot of friends that I'd had for years and years and years, none of whom were Christians. They just weren't, And I decided, I got up one Sunday morning, and I went to a local church just by myself. Just got up, went to a church. Didn't tell my wife where I was going, nothing. I went and sat in the back, and I don't remember anything that was said or happened. I just wanted to go. And I came home, and my wife said, where you been? I said, I went to church. And she was kind of freaked out, like, what? And I was like, yeah, I just wanted to go check it out. And I was like, I really want to play some of that music that I heard, And so that night I got on Craigslist, and I put up a post and put drummer looking for Christian band. Not Christian drummer looking for band. Drummer looking for Christian band. And had like 4 replies. I had 4 replies. 3 of those guys, which are in my band, Hush Harbor, so shameless self-promotion, in my Christian band, Hush Harbor now, but I didn't know them, and scheduled time to get together and jam, and we each picked out a couple songs, and I learned these Christian songs I'd never played before, and we got together, and it was like a guitar player and a bass player and a keyboard player and myself, but not a singer, right? And so I was like, man, we need to find somebody that can sing. Now, I still haven't been baptized or anything yet, right? I'm still figuring this thing out, right? And so anyway, a friend of mine who's very well connected in the music industry here in the region contacted me and said, hey, man, I'm starting this Christian band. And he said, a Christian band, really? And I didn't know he was a Christian, but he was. And he's like, wow, awesome. And he gives me the name of 2 guys he said that would might make a good singer. And I contacted one guy, and he just was not interested in starting a band. He was beyond that, I guess, and just, he was a worship leader at a church and had a gig and had been doing it for a while. Just wasn't the right time for him. And the second guy he gave me was also a worship leader at a church, and a young guy, and he had just started this position. And he said, man, I'd really love to, but I just started this job as a worship leader, which I didn't know what a worship leader was, okay, first of all. And he said, but let's stay in touch. And I was like, okay, thanks. And he got my number and hung up. And about 2 weeks later, he called me and he said, hey, this is Jordan. I said, well, hey, Jordan. I thought, all right, he changed his mind. Whatever that worship leader thing is didn't work out. He just wanted to sing for a band. And he said, hey, man, my church, the worship team, we need a drummer. I was wondering if you'd be interested in coming playing this weekend. And I said, you mean come play while you're churching? That's what I said, while you're churching. And he said, yeah. And he said, well, let's get together for coffee tomorrow and talk about it. So I met him for coffee, and I shared this story with him of where I was at. And I just kind of figured when I told him that much, he's like, this guy doesn't really know what he wants or where he's at. I better find somebody more committed, right? A professional Christian. And that's what I thought. But he said, oh, man, we'd love for you to come play. And so the next weekend, I learned the 6 songs that he gave me. And I went to play, and I was never more nervous of any time I've ever played drums anywhere than I was that very first Sunday in this little country church of 150 people. And the other people he had playing had all been playing on worship teams for years. Like the bass player had been playing for 20 years in church, and the singer for 20 years, and had a degree as a worship leader. Everybody was familiar with what was going on except me. I knew nothing about nothing, and was terrified. Anyway, I was baptized by that worship leader at that church about a month later, and that was my home church. And I praise the Lord, right? When I tell the story and I look at how all the pieces came together, it's not by coincidence. It's not by chance. God has a plan. And I think back to that song, right? These are the words I would say. God's got a plan for you. It's amazing, right? So since that time, I felt really strongly that God had used music to reach me, so music must be part of the plan he has for me. So I continued to play in the worship team there at church, and I continued to try to build this Christian rock band that I wanted to have, which has become Hush Harbor. And so as I'm putting that together, I'm thinking, man, wonder why our city doesn't have a show like Winter Jam. We have this great venue here in town. It's an amphitheater, an outdoor. It floats on the river. It's a great venue. It's called the River Stage. And I was like, I felt like God was telling me to go to the city of Jeffersonville and tell them they should have a Christian concert. Okay? Now, at this time, I've been a Christian about 3 months, I think. So I miraculously get an appointment with the mayor of the city, and I go into the mayor's office, and I tell him this big elaborate idea I have for them to put on a Christian concert, and what a success I think it would be. And the mayor looks at me and he goes, man, this is a great idea. And I was like, wow, cool. It's a great idea. Wow. He says, why don't you do it? And I was like, why don't I do what? He goes, well, why don't you put on the concert? He said, you get the sponsors, raise the money. We'll let you use the facility this first year, and you get the bands, and you organize it, and you make it happen. And I was like, okay. And I walk out of there thinking, oh my gosh, what just happened? I don't know anything about putting on a festival. I don't know anything about hiring these professional bands. I don't know nothing about nothing. I'm barely a Christian, right? I've been a Christian for 3 months. I'm like, man, I'm not qualified to do this. And I remember that next week at church, that's what the sermon was about. It was about how God picks people and qualifies them because he picked them, not because they might be qualified. And I'm not comparing myself to any of those people in the Bible. Please don't take it that way. I'm just sharing my story. So we started what is known as Rock on Water. Okay. My wife and I started a ministry called Joyous Noise Ministry. And I said, well, maybe it'll be a one-time thing. We'll try it, see how it goes. And I was like, well, I got to raise some money. So I go to a friend of mine who owns a local car dealership, 3 or 4 of them here locally. Guy I know knew through business, and I didn't know if he was a Christian or not. And I went to him and I said, hey man, I need some help. I'm looking for some sponsors for this concert I wanted to put on. I tell him what it's going to be, Rock on Water, a Christian concert. And he goes, oh, wow, this is awesome. And he said, how much money do you think you need to put it on? And I told him what the total number was. And he goes, will a check be okay? Just like that. This just doesn't happen, okay? And he gave me a check. And I left going, oh my gosh, this is really going to happen. So now I had to think about who am I going to have play, right? What bands am I going to have play? And of course, I said, man, I want that Sidewalk Prophets band. That's the band that played that song, and I'd never met them or talked to them or anything, told them this story. And so I get online trying to figure out how to reach them, and I find their agency, and I reach out to their agency, and we cut a deal to have them come and play, and that's who we had come play the very first Rock on Water. And it was amazing. We had like 7,000 people show up the very first time. And I'm not telling you any of this to try to say I'm good or all I am is blessed, right? God made all this happen. God put all these pieces together. So since that time, we've been doing Rock on Water every year. We started another festival in the wintertime called Rock on Winter. Hush Harbor, my band, we finally got a singer and started making records and doing recordings and playing shows. We've been blessed to play with all kinds of other bands, but the coolest things are the ministry opportunities we get. I remember when I got to share this story with the guys in Sidewalk Prophets, and how intently they listened, right? And what I know is God can use any band, any song to deliver his message to people. And that's why I'm so passionate about music ministry. And one of my favorite shows that my band ever played, we got to play in the county jail, which is a concrete gymnasium box. It's real small. And we got to go and do a full concert, us and a couple other bands some friends of ours, we had open, and we played a full concert for the male residents and then took a 2-hour break and played a full concert for the female residents. And, we weren't allowed to engage with them one-on-one, just, the rules of the jail and all that. And they would stand up and worship, and it was really, really cool. Worst acoustics of any concert ever, but the greatest concert. It was cool. And a couple years went by, and we were playing at a Rock on Winter. And I was sitting at our merch table, and a young dude comes up and goes, hey, man, this is the second time I've seen your all's band play. And I was like, oh, cool. Where was the first? He said, the Clark County Jail. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. And he said, yeah, man. He goes, I was locked up, and I went to that concert. I didn't really want to go. And he said, I felt like God called to me that night, and I got out of the jail, and I joined my church, and I've been involved in serving my church ever since. And and it was so humbling to hear that story, to be on the other side and hear how music and things led someone to Christ, just like it did me. And, that's why I do and participate in every Christian music event that I can to reach just one person, right? I mean, if one person's life change, it can change so many things, and I've had so many stories told to me at Rock on Water from people that it's changed their life and thanking me, and it's overwhelming because really it's all God. It wasn't me at all. I told you my plan early on was to go to a concert, get my wife off my back and say, okay, leave me alone. I'm done. That was my plan. And God's plan was a lot different. So, if you're watching this and you've watched this long, I just want you to know that God has a plan for you. And I can't tell you what that plan is, but I can tell you God has a very specific plan for you. And I encourage you to follow that plan. When you feel that tug, right? Pay attention, right? Just go with it. Don't be afraid to reach out and talk to other believers, man. They won't think you're crazy. Chances are God's got somebody close to you that's been praying for you for a long time, and they'd love nothing more than to get that call and say, I remember one of the first questions, I'm almost done. One of the first questions I asked my pastor was there dinosaurs on the ark? Now, I remember, I don't know nothing about nothing, right? And he said, real brilliantly, he said, do you need there to be dinosaurs on the ark? I just thought it's a great story. We've laughed about it many times since then. And just don't be afraid to ask questions of people, right? Don't even fret it. And so anyway, I just want to say thanks. Thanks for asking me to do this video. I really appreciate that, my friend. Feel free to use it anywhere you wish. I hope it accomplishes something great for the Lord. I hope somebody sees it and can identify. And, Christian music was the doorway that God used to reach me. So anyway, thank you so much. God bless you all. I hope you're safe and well wherever you are in this world. And again, God bless you. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Well, guys, that was Scott. I first met Scott. He actually runs a festival in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And him and his bride tag team taking care of the artists. And man, they really did a fine job. But I got to meet him and his bride and talk to Scott and his heart for the Lord. And I'll be honest with you, like, there's a lot of people that are out there that are doing the promoting job, and they're just in it for the money. And Scott puts on an event that's free to the community. And obviously it's not about the money. But it's one of those things where you can just feel his heart for worship, heart for his community, heart for the Lord. And it's a beautiful thing. And so I was taken aback by listening to his story and how music ministry plays a part in his testimony. There's so many people out there that they come to the Lord by ways of, a good sermon or a friend. But there's a lot of people that come to the Lord by way of music. And so, again, like I said, if you share this, there's some people out there who might be inspired or encouraged to listen to Christian music. K-Love has this thing, it's a 30-day challenge. One thing, like my brother, you heard his testimony, is wrapped around Christian music. So I just encourage you guys to share these things because, and then maybe even to challenge your loved ones with checking out Christian music for a little bit because, they have a saying, garbage in, garbage out. So if you are feeding yourself with garbage, that's what's coming out. But if you're feeding yourself with the word through music, then that's what's coming out. So, it's one of those things, guys, where this world has a lot of garbage. And what are you trying to feed yourself? And what are you trying to get out of it? And like I said before, are we saving lives one click at a time? So just share these videos on your social media. Allow yourself to dig into the word via music as well, because it's super powerful, super impactful. Man, just being on the road and on tour, I just listen to so many people have stories of their testimony wrapped around music, and their life was saved by music. So comment down below if that's the case for you. I'd love to hear what song saved your life, maybe what band that sings that song saved your life. Guys, we're just so blessed and honored that you guys would come alongside and partner and be a part of this ministry. So Testimony Tuesday, if you want to give me your testimony, you can go to, right down below is my email address. And let's correspond that way. And then I'd love to get your testimony via video on this channel. All right, guys. I love you guys. And again, let's save this world one click at a time.
So much pain and sorrow. This world knows darkness well. The light you have given, we keep trapped within ourselves.